Today on Running to Him.
Don't blame others for your circumstances. Today we will read Genesis chapter 40 through 43 and concentrate on chapter 40, verses 14 and 15. Genesis 40, verses 14 and 15 says, "Only keep me in mind when it goes well with you, and please do me a kindness by mentioning me to Pharaoh and get me out of this house. For I was in fact kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and even here I have done nothing that they should have put me into the dungeon." Well, today we find Joseph in prison, and even though he was placed in charge of the other prisoners, he still was one himself. Our society has morphed into a blame the other person mentality. Our children are taught not to accept responsibility for their actions or circumstances, but to seek something or someone to blame. In San Francisco, a commission recommended that blacks receive $5 million in reparations for the suffering of their ancestors. The thought is that non-blacks deserve to be penalized for something their ancestors may or may not have done. Now, Chrysostom, 347 to 407, preached a sermon about Joseph's reaction to his imprisonment. Part of that sermon is below. Considering this, I ask you, how Joseph says nothing against the disgusting adulteress, does not blame his master, or recount his brother's inhumanity to him. Instead, he suppresses it all, that in saying, "Remember me, and have me taken out of this dungeon, for I really was abducted from the land of the Hebrews, and have done nothing here, and yet have been cast into this prison." Instead of passing this idly by, let us consider his philosophical frame of mind in finding such a suitable opportunity and not maligning the Egyptian woman. I make the same point, note, or drawing attention to his master or to his brothers, aware as he was that the chief cupbearer was the ideal person and the ideal position to acquaint the king with his own situation once he had come into his own. Joseph assigned no blame for his being sentenced to a term in prison and was in no hurry to demonstrate the injustice committed against him. Rather, his one concern was not for them to be roundly condemned, but only for someone to speak on his behalf. On the one hand, he obscured the role of his brothers when he said, "I was abducted in the land of the Hebrews." And on the other hand, he drew attention neither to the doings of the wanton Egyptian woman, nor to his master's unjust rage against him. Instead, what did he say? "I have done nothing here, and yet have been cast into this prison." Hearing this, let us learn when we fall foul of such people, not to be bent on railing against them and sharpening our tongue and accusing them. Instead, let us demonstrate our innocence meekly and mildly and imitate this remarkable man that, though being in difficulties, he did not bring himself to parade the Egyptian woman's actions, even by word of mouth. You are aware, of course, that often many people who are liable to accusations have recourse to vile abuse and endearing themselves to fix their own crimes and others. This man, on the contrary, though in fact more spotless than the sun and in a position to tell the complete truth and exposing her frenzy and putting himself in the clear, did not draw attention to them. You see, far from seeking for the esteem of mortals, Joseph was content with favor from on high, and wanted for an admirer of his conduct only that unsleeping eye. Hence, as he kept the silence and endeavored to conceal everything, the loving Lord brought him to a wonderful prominence when he saw with approval the athlete under pressure. We don't need to concentrate or worry about blaming others for our circumstances. We should seek God and glorify Him through those circumstances.
Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.